8:20.
Yeah. That's the danger of recording on Tuesday. Jeff's work late day. Once again, I'm the only asshole with a real job.
I traveled for work to a danger zone.
What?
Did you take a highway? Did you take a highway? No. Damn.
No. I was
That's
gonna
only
say,
the Navy.
Chrissy actually has to go to work these days, right?
I mean, I go to work in my living in the bed. Yeah.
The only jerk off
Right
going
here.
to work.
We
Chris
work
is
a
going to
lot.
work. Oh, man.
I go to work every other day. Eat it.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot or hella sweet. We're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just a tip. We're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Except 6 pounds is the maximum you can put into that Honda.
But honestly, at 5 pounds, you have to dance.
Okay.
Everyone report to the paddock as I
This
joke.
is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental. And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to another episode of our podcast. It's episode 153. Stand by. Deep philosophical biblical dive here. Grab Mary Magdalene, get out and catch some fish. Also, if you're not driving a car, grab that bingo card.
Was that too religious? I put that in there thinking that's deep.
It is. It's the Greek epitology, whatever, of her name, and then also it's supposed to be either 153 fish when he was doing the one variation is 153 species of fish when he was fishing. Yeah. So no,
Wow,
153.
Mental is like learned.
Yeah.
You know what?
This
That's
is
the
his, that's his
philosophy
jam.
degree.
Yeah.
That's the philosophy degree coming out.
Finally, we hear your.
Yes. I get to say something that.
I recognize. Yay.
Yes. Ed Zachary. So, having justified my degree that came to you at taxpayers' expense, let's kick this off like we always do with what you're working on, Chris.
Hey, it's been 2 weeks since I told you what I'm working on, so this is exciting. After the fun with the Honda at Thompson, I thought we hurt the motor because it got pretty hot and it didn't really want to idle when we did the parade, for example. So I said, all right, well, let's see how bad it is. So did a compression test. Cylinder 1, 205.
That's good.
That is good. Cylinder 2, 203.
Ah, good
Also-
again.
Also good. Cylinder 3, 198.
Not bad.
Very acceptable.
Cylinder 4, 197. So less
Ka-ching!
than 10
Yeah,
psi.
we're calling it.
Across all 4 cylinders. Sounds great to me.
So,
also then
like
sent it oil-
us, she was just exhausted.
Yeah, pretty
Totes.
much. It was emotionally draining for guts. So,
I know we talk about the Honda all the time, but why don't you refresh the memory of where that motor came from, what it's out of, where it is, what it is. I think most people know it's a K swap.
B16, Y1, what?
yeah, no. It's obviously the 89 Civic Si. The motor is a K24. It's from which Honda puts in pretty much everything.
Yeah.
This
Accord
one,
motor, basically.
yeah, it's Accord, CRV, various Acuras, etc. They still use it to this day, pretty much, but they put it in everything they made. Mental picked this one up for me with his Volvo wagon at a junkyard in South Carolina on the way here to Pennsylvania from when he lived in Georgia, because I was looking for one locally that was reasonably priced. You know, these things are not particularly expensive, but you know, with Lemmas, we're going to find the best one we can, lowest mileage with the best price. Anyway, this one in South Carolina was like an 85,000 mile motor, and it was, you know, it was pretty cheap for what it was. So,
So
Mental
proof you
picked it up.
can do a K swap for under
Yeah.
$500-ish dollars.
Yeah, the motors are not expensive. It's all the other stuff that adds up.
But there's no hot
anyway.
build. You didn't
The motor's completely stock.
bring anything.
Totally, yeah.
You didn't put
No,
in new bearings.
Now, I
Yeah.
put a new timing chain and tensioner on it for maintenance because I didn't know what they were. And I put a baffle in the oil pan that I made out of sheet metal and door hinges. And I shaped using Play-Doh. So that's,
And you
That was awesome.
yeah.
it's a shame we weren't recording because you had the video of that because you were still in the garage, one of our recordings, when you did that. You were showing how you put Play-Doh in there and you were mashing it. That's I remember that.
Yeah. It
If we
worked.
still have that video, we could post it up.
I don't think we were even recording video. I think that was
I think we just stuck it on a cell phone. I don't remember which one of us did it even.
yeah.
Anyway, if one of us sees it, why not? Anyway, so yeah, the motor's completely bone-ass stock out of the junkyard. So also did an oil analysis, sent it over to Blackstone just to see, did we hurt it much? And I did do it at the end of last year too, and the numbers were basically exactly the same. So everything's perfectly fine. And that
Can't kill
Rotella is doing...
Godzilla. You can
Yeah,
just chase it away temporarily.
You can anger him, her.
Yeah.
Godzilla's
Yeah.
a female, right? That's part of
In
Canada.
the Matthew Broderick one, she laid eggs. Technically, she was asexual, but yeah.
Reptiles do that weird thing. You know, you saw Jurassic Park. Who knows?
I understand.
Anyway.
Gender's a concept anyway. Construct
It is.
anyway, so.
Godzilla prefers pronoun they. So
Godzilla
anyway.
prefers the pronoun me.
Yeah. Anyway, the motor's fine. It's great. So I also we gave it a once over, everything was fine, put the passenger seat in, took the Godzilla head off. Chrissy was helping me with all this stuff. Also swapped the right rear caliper because the car pulls to the right when you brake hard. And I noticed in watching some of the video from other people's cars that the right rear wheel locked up a few times. So I'm without thinking that caliper was sticky. So I replaced that caliper. And now I'm struggling trying to get a good pedal after I've tried gravity bleeding, I've tried pressure bleeding, I've tried two-person bleeding, still don't have a good pedal. So now I'm just letting it sit in the garage and think about it for a while, let the air kind of move
Keep
around.
walking around it and be like,
Yeah.
fix, stop it,
It's thinking about
stop
it.
it.
Now, is that the...
It worked with the engine, just letting it work things out on its own.
What was it? The left caliper that we were dragging when we were trying to push the Citroen?
It was both.
Did you change both, or you only changed?
No,
one?
I only
Just
changed
one.
the right because that's the way it was pulling, and that was the one that...
No, I
was
mean
locked.
from when we were pushing the Citroen.
No, I just changed the right one. That's it. Only right now. Before the race, all I had done was free them up. The right one was stuck on worse, and all the videos are showing the right rear wheel is the one locking up. So I'm saying, well, that makes sense. If it's pulling right, the right rear is locking up would cause it to pull right. Who knows? Let's try it.
Yeah, I get it.
So
It makes
so
sense.
now I got to get good pedal out of it. I'm still trying to do that without burning through $60 worth of motul.
It's so unfortunate too because you go around when the engine's not on, and then when you turn the engine on, you're like, okay, we think the pedal's good, and then you turn the engine on, and it just goes right to the floor.
You get the vacuum boost, and it goes right down.
Oh.
Anyway, so working on that and trying to heal my shredded feet because Chrissy and I did a long hike. Chrissy can tell you a little bit about, and selling Honda parts to Bill. He took a pickup truckload of Honda parts this morning, which is great. Helps him. Helps
I'm
me.
sorry. Back a little bit of background knowledge.
That Bill from Garage Heroes. They're building a Honda with a D series engine like we ran for many years, and I have a 10+ year collection of Honda D series parts, including several engines, ported cylinder heads that I did myself. You name it, I got it. So Bill has had the advanced express train to all the spares you need land. So there he is.
Or honestly, to Class B win because
True. Yeah.
I've won Class B in a single stick, 1.6 liter Honda, and then you guys all won.
Yep. Yeah. And they just work as long as you don't try to shove 10 pounds of turbo boost down their throats.
Yeah.
They work great. Port the oil pump, put some ARP head studs on it. Don't rev it beyond 68, and you don't have any problems. So done.
Important step though. Keep the timing cover on.
Yeah, totally. Those rocks.
Actually, that's for the twin cam. You take the timing cover off of the twin cam.
Even then, leave the lower cover on. You don't need that. Anyway, Jeff, what are you working on?
So it was the wife's birthday this week, and it is the last week of her freedom because she began teaching again on Monday. So on Saturday, we did the birthday thing. We made the big giant pot of lobster and shrimp, and they're all kinds of goodies. And the best part was that I made the mixture a little too spicy, so I get all the leftovers. Cha-ching.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Accidentally.
I didn't mean to do
Oops.
that.
Yeah. My son bit in the corn. He's like, this corn is hot. And I said, well, let it cool off. He's like, no, not that kind of hot. Oh, well. They all ate fine.
Dad,
Oh, well.
the door's electrocuting me. Put on a glove.
Exactly.
Right? Harden the F up is
Yeah,
what Jeff
yeah.
says.
Very well.
So for the birthday, I also did more work on the flooring project. So I'm now officially out of floorboards, and we need to move furniture before I can continue on. So that's always a fun thing. And I have a story about Lowe's Home Improvement. Working with Chris and Chrissy, I found a lovely product. We already mentioned it, the California bamboo, Cali bamboo. So I ordered a bunch of stair nose and T molding and a whole bunch of other stuff, like directly from Cali Bamboo through the Lowe's website in the beginning of July. It just showed up this weekend.
Is that on Wish that you ordered it?
Exactly, I think so.
Did they have to cut the trees down? They had to
Well,
go, dig them up out of the ground.
I kept
and then,
calling
put 'em
and
on a
saying,
lane.
like, where's my special order? And they were like, oh, that's a special order. COVID, everything's slow. I'm like, it's coming from Cali is in their name, California. So it showed up this weekend, and I got all excited because I really wanted to get on to the next part. And the T molding wasn't there. The stair nose, one part of the stair nose was correct, and the other part was the wrong color.
Oh, no.
So we went to Lowe's and we watched a guy without a mask nearly get into a fist fight with a customer service rep. I believe he was trying to return
Nice.
a toilet.
Was it used?
I don't know.
That's even more reason to
It took him like an hour to find my stuff, and then none of them knew how to return it. So then it took me it took Jen an hour online with Lowe's waiting to talk to someone in probably California, right next to where they make this stuff. And
Did she have to get all North Jersey on them?
no, they were very nice.
Okay.
It was the fools at the store who didn't know what they were doing.
So it's one of those things where you're looking at the guy that almost gets into a fight with the customer service rep, and you're like, man, that guy's a jerk. And then you start talking to the customer service rep. Oh,
now I get it.
yeah, that's it.
Now they were really rattled by this guy, so we kind of just took our stuff and went back to the house.
So I could have told you this. I have had much experience. Remember when I was traveling the world pre-COVID? Weird.
Yes.
And I've had more stories about my experiences with Lowe's because I started going to Lowe's
for like toolboxes and to outfit
yes,
the place.
well, yes, because my boss liked Craftsman, so we started with that. I now no longer like their products, but anyway, I spent more hours in a Lowe's and more experience with them, and know exactly the kind of people that you're dealing with. I could tell you where the good ones in the country are and where the bad ones are in the country. Don't go to Newcastle, Delaware. Don't go there. Brownsburg, Indiana, not so bad. No, but the people that work there are terrible. So I'm very sorry you had those experiences. I concur.
Yeah. It rained all day Sunday, so I stayed in the house and I watched racing. Lots of racing, including the Indy 500, which ended in a terrible way. We watched like NASCAR, then we watched the Indy 500, then we put on some more NASCAR. And my wife was like, oh, finally, the Phillies are on. I get to watch baseball. She watched an inning and a half of baseball and went, wait a minute, let's go watch more racing. And we watched DTM for an hour. So like, what a... I wouldn't even turn on DTM. Like, that's just, it's not in my wheel. I mean, sure, road racing, I'll watch anything, but.
Sunday morning, Formula One's on. There
Sorry, it's the best.
Yeah. DTM is fun, though, because those guys are insane.
I just can't watch enough to, like, pay attention to who's running. And
it doesn't matter because they're all within an inch of each other, and they will mash anyone to get out of their way.
I'll ask Chris to do the pronunciation of what DTM stands for.
Deutsche Touringgeschäfte, something like that.
It's Audis and Mercedes.
Yeah,
and
it's German touring cars.
German
rights
touring
and
cars.
lefts, or is
Oh
it
yeah,
an
yeah, road
Autobahn?
racing,
Or
absolutely.
Road courses in Audis and M3s and
highly modified, like they go over bumps and the whole car just twists because nothing on it moves, and they will plow into each other at 180 without blinking, pit each other. It's competitive.
Cool.
And it's
Yep.
sprint
Familiar.
racing, so it's not hours and hours and hours.
You get like 20 minutes. Smash up. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it. That's what all I was doing. Chrissy, I really want to hear more about the hiking. So
Okay. So I'll tell you about hiking. So I don't even remember what I did last week because I think it was, the
working
background.
and getting ready for hiking.
Working and getting ready. I had a lot of work to do. I do a lot of work because I'm working for two people, but also knowing that we had a couple days off always kind of stresses me out. So we were working, and then we were trying to, so I don't remember if we told the story of why we were going. So basically, long backstory, a couple weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago now, I was supposed to go to New Hampshire to be deposed for work. So I was going there, and then fortunately we settled out of court, so I didn't have to go, which is great because I don't like to do things like that. It's not fun. Lawyers are asses usually, and they try to mess you up and make you feel bad about yourself. So that's like the general statement about it. Anyway,
it's mostly true. I've been around a lot.
I know, and I've done this, and I've done it before. So we said, okay, well, we're going to New Hampshire. Chris was like, well, maybe I'll come with you. And I was like, okay, well, it's a little far from the Cape, and it's a little, out of the way. What are we going to do when we get there? So Chris starts looking, and anything in New Hampshire is basically closed. If you want to stand next to somebody somewhere, all the huts and all of the other places.
Anything indoor is closed.
Right. Right. So then I say, well, and he says, well, we can't go to all these huts and places that have bunk beds. And I said, let's just go camp. And he was like, really? So we're like, all right, let's go. So we decide to, this was before I found out that we had settled, but we said, well, we'll go up for the first part of the week, do the deposition, he'll work from the hotel, and then we'll head out hiking. Very fortunately, we settled, I didn't have to go to work, so we just left on Wednesday night and headed up to New Hampshire. So that's the backstory. We went to New Hampshire. Chris made a wonderful route, really well thought through. We started with our first day was going to be the hardest day, and it proved to be
good
so.
Move.
Yes, so we're fresh. We had a lot of gear. We had to go out and get some more gear because Chris's boots were falling apart. We had only had one bag. We needed two, and make sure that we have all of the rest of the supplies for camping now because we've done a bunch of day hikes, but not any actual camping. So
we camped at races and stuff, but
yeah, I mean, we have some camping gear. We've got a tent, but we didn't, I could not find my mess kit for anything. So we had to, buy a new pot, and we found out late that we couldn't use our fire stove. So because it had actual, like their wood fire, because you can't have wood fires. No surprise, especially since we don't want to burn down New Hampshire like California's burning. So we had to buy a new stove for stuff like that. So we had kind of scramble at the end, and the packing was a lot, and we basically made sure that we only packed, if you're carrying it all, you don't want to bring anything extra because you're carrying it. So we made sure that we had enough clothes and all that good stuff. So anyway, Wednesday we stayed at a hotel close to where we were going to launch. Thursday we got on the road early and got on the path early. We did 10 miles first day. Most of that was uphill because we started at 1,500 feet, 1,300 feet, and we went to about 47, 45.
It's a good elevation.
I didn't know New Hampshire was that tall.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, some parts of it is anyway.
There's 42 mountains over 4,000 feet in the White Mountains, and a couple over 5,000. We got to one of those, and Mount Washington's over 6.
Yeah, so we had to get all the way up, and then the rest of the couple of days were, the next day was across a lot of ridge walking, and then we had to get down, obviously. So that was most of our days. We had good weather, didn't really have any rain. We had the one night we had rain as we were coming into camp, but that was okay. Plenty of complaints on blisters on feet, and our packs were really heavy. So mine was about 35 to 40 pounds, and his was about 45 to 50. So it's a lot. To be going up 10 miles uphill. A lot of, give me one second. So a lot of them were like the biggest Stairmaster you've ever gone on. Like your leg, you had to bring your leg like next to your head to get up on top of it. So
But like uneven too.
yes, right.
And sometimes wet. And
yes, and so a lot of it was, and then there was of course the uncomfortable thoughts of like, if one of us kind of like roll overturns an ankle, blows out a knee, we're screwed.
Doctor
Because
said you're gonna die.
We're really far away from a lot of things. Very fortunately, our biggest things are shredded feet, which Chris can tell the story if you'd like to tell why your feet are shredded. And then
no one needs to know.
I had all right. So we have plenty of blisters is what had happened. But other than that, all safe and well. So so day 1 was all the way up. Day 2 was ridge walking and a little bit down. And the down we did 1 mile, 0.9, and we went from 4,900 feet to
37
in 0.9.
Whoa, that's a down.
It was straight down, and of
That's
course
a quad killer.
Oh, it was lots of squats, right? Lunges and squats. That's all we did.
While
But
carrying a child.
Yeah.
so we kept saying, I had a 5-year-old and he had an 8-year-old. That's the joke that we were saying that's what we were carrying because that's what it felt like, and we just pitied the people that were going up it. Because and then we met a guy at one of our camps and he read the map wrong, went up and then came back down because he thought it was a different mountain, and then he had to go back up it to go on
the wrong
ridge,
direction.
on the ridges. Yeah. So he was kind of lamenting because he thought it was one of those like, let's go do a summit. It's not hard. It's only 0.9. Let's just go to the top. Go up and come back down. Nope, which we did. We did that a couple of times. Not a big deal. So that was the trip.
Youthful Jeff would have told you you're packing too heavy, but I won't judge.
That was the question I was going to ask, because the Boy Scouts have a ratio of how much of your body weight your pack should weigh.
Well, we just don't have super lightweight backpacking gear.
Yeah,
our tent is too big and too heavy. It weighs 7 pounds all done. So it's great for most of what we need it for. But the once or twice a year we're going to do this, I'm not going to go buy a $400 flyweight.
No. Same thing with bags and everything else. If you don't have,
it's just not worth it.
We have one day bag that's really nice. But Chris, instead of paying $300, we bought a $75 Amazon bag because that seemed like fine.
The specs were okay. And the reviews were really good.
It was okay.
It was okay.
Except it squeaked.
Kind of
the whole time.
Right behind my head the whole time. And we did 100,000 steps in 3 days.
Yeah.
More than actually.
26 miles total.
Yeah. Well, your first day was 43,000 steps in your Fitbit. Most of those were
true.
So 100,000.
Right.
Basically. Yes. This is what happened.
So my backpacking partner of my youth, my trail name was Mr. Blister. Because I have really narrow feet, and in my youth I could not afford custom molded hiking shoes, so I always got blisters. But he would always yell at me because I was a thumper. I would hang stuff off my backpack and it would go thump, 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 thump.
Oh no!
Thump all day. And he'd be like, "Oh, you cut that in your bag! I'm gonna kill you."
That's exactly what happened. We did that. Yes. But that's what. Yeah, I can call it. Now I'm looking at Mr. Blister. That's basically what Chris is.
Well, he had new shoes. You gotta cut the guy a break.
It wasn't.
The biggest problem is I loosened them up the last day because it was an easy trail. I didn't need the ankle support because they were cutting off circulation in one of my feet. So I was losing feeling in my fourth toe. So I said, I'll loosen them up. I was loosening them up, and because I loosened them up, my foot moved too much in that 8-mile hike
all
out.
over the place.
That just tore me up.
Blisters in places that you shouldn't get blisters.
Exactly what happens to my feet.
This is not everyone blisters. This is a racing show.
Anyway, that's
Let's
where we were
keep
last
going.
week. We had a great time. Happy to be home. Really appreciate running water, using more than 2 squares of toilet paper. It's just, this is all
ice.
Ice, right? Yeah, no, this is
not having pooping without digging.
Now we can don't have to pump the water out of the spring and put it in a bottle. Yeah, no, it's all good. Eating out of a pot.
We really did have a good time.
Yeah, we did.
I was jealous.
We'll go again.
I'm jealous.
What are you up to?
So greetings from, I want to say sunny Florida, but it's not.
It's
sunny.
rainy. Yeah.
It's overcast. It finally stopped raining. It's been raining since I got here. It was raining before I got here. I might have the Rona. I don't know. We'll find out. But
Schrodinger's virus. You may have it. You might not. You don't know.
I am absolutely convinced that I scared off the dual hurricanes. They were both supposed to hit same day Gulf Coast, and now they've moved over to Texas. Is probably one of those things like, oh, if we mess up his hair, he'll never shut up about it. Let's just go to Texas. Most of those people don't have hair. Last week when Chris and Chrissy weren't here, I was lamenting my bicycle woes, and my boss took pity on me after I did successfully ride my craptacular hunk to work. So I actually got it all aired up. The tube blew as I was walking back in the house to get my gear. So I swapped out the tube again, made it successfully to work. And my boss took one look at the bike and said, "Oh my God, my custom one comes in tomorrow. I'll just loan you my old one." So I took that one for a
Did you
ride.
get a Huffy from Walmart? Like what the hell?
So when you start a new hobby, you don't want to throw a bunch of money at it because you don't have lightweight hiking gear because how often you guys go hiking, and that's a substantial investment. And I knew I wanted to try bicycling, and I've tried it.
Road biking, not like mountain biking. Go ahead.
Right, but I wasn't going to invest a ton of money in it because what if this sucks? And so I bought some used piece of crap off of Facebook, and it was about as good as you expect a used piece of crap off Facebook to go. And I talked about having to rebuild the gears and everything. So he actually had a specialty lightweight aluminum narrow tube Trek that he has been riding for seven years. I mean, this is a substantial bike, but it's got some miles on it now. And he bought another tailor-made bicycle to it. And I got on the bike, and even as old as it is, within the first mile, I'm like, this is why I drive a Mercedes. Just, it was the difference between driving the Volvo and the CL.
Yeah.
So I did 10 miles just to get used to the bike. And I looked at my Run Keeper, which also does bicycling. And it came up and said, "This is your fastest bicycle ride ever."
Yeah.
So
Totally.
Makes a difference.
Yeah, have the right equipment. And I don't regret dipping a toe in the water financially before I committed to it. But yeah, after riding that bicycle, and so I texted him immediately and said, "All right, how much you want for it?"
I want for this.
Yeah,
sell it to me.
I did this once. I did a metric century in the hills of Maryland, which do have some hills, and so that's I think it was 26 miles. In a Trek, what do you call it? Not bike, hybrid. And people were like
beach cruiser.
what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know, it's a bike. I'm okay.
You were 22. You didn't know any better.
No, but people were like, this is crazy because people doing this ride were So
you're 22 and you're probably hung over like the rest of us when we were 22.
I mean,
No problem. I got this.
Sure. Also, but that many miles over hills is a lot. So I completely understand. You level up and you're just like, oh, this is also like our racing suits.
Yes.
Our right. We all started out in comforters, and then all of a sudden
we learned that the gear is really important.
Each one of us got a better suit, and we're just like, oh my.
Yep.
What?
That is. Yep.
You lift it. You're like, where is it?
Where did this come
helmets. From? Same thing with helmets. Oh, closeout. No. I want the best one that fits. Yeah.
Chrissy, and a metric century is 62 miles, not 26. That's
I must have done a half metric then.
Oh, okay. No, that's metric century is a biking thing.
It was more than 5 miles on a.
Oh, it was a lot. Yes, it was a lot.
In actual news that our listeners will care about.
Maybe not. This
truck news. Ram 1500 TRX 2021, 22. I don't know what it is.
I figured this Mental should have read this one. This is a big ass V8
Mental, do you want to read
pickup
this
truck.
Go ahead. You can read it if you want to.
And I have been keeping up on this one. So Dodge has introduced, after many years of ballyhooing about it, they have finally introduced their Raptor fighter. So the Ram 1500 TRX, 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi.
They say to call it the T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Yes, the T-Rex. Mm-hmm. The T-Rex, 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi, 702 horsepower. They have 702 launch editions that are going to be available with a numbered console plaque along with upgraded wheels and tires, high-end audio system, dual panoramic, blah, 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 blah. Price $93,000. And I guarantee you.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, exactly. I guarantee you not a one of them will sell for sticker. They will all have that dealer markup nonsense on them. Yeah. And so in 3 hours, they sold all of them, $65 million in sales in 3 hours. I'm actually looking forward to seeing this in the next couple of years, because Ford has doubled down on the EcoBoost for the Raptor. So all of the 2020 Raptors are the turbocharged 6s, and Dodge is just going, no replacement for displacement.
Well,
except for a supercharger
and boost. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the question, because Mental said they're not going to sell for sticker. Well, they did sell for sticker because they're selling them directly from Dodge, and then they're turning them around and selling them for much more.
I'll say you will see stories of dealers trying to screw. And the thing is, it'll be some, local city dealer that does a whole lot of $99 down, $99 a month, and they're going to try and sell that truck. Well, we had to add some fees on there, not understanding that anyone who pays $93,000 for a pickup truck has a lawyer on speed dial.
Yeah. It's, I mean, and this has been done for other launch editions. The launch edition Wrangler was done, and a couple others.
Supra, the first the first Corvette, they all went to charities and stuff.
Is this the way to get around the dealer markup? The Copo Camaros, which was the special drag edition a couple of years ago, they had 100 of them, and everybody had to get in the lottery. And if you won the lottery, you got the rights to buy it from sticker directly from Chevy.
And I think there are a lot of dealership organizations out there that are actually larger financially than the big three than the automobile manufacturers. AutoNation.
They hold more. Yeah, they hold more power then.
And I'm not dogging on AutoNation, because they actually have a really strong customer service but some of these dealer groups out there, and they tell the OEMs and they've structured the laws, and that's why Tesla can't sell.
It can't have a dealership in Texas.
Right, exactly. And I think they're just going to be completely undermined, because now people are completely comfortable dropping that kind of money online, especially if you're dealing with a reputable company.
And all the startup electric car manufacturing companies are following the Tesla model. So
absolutely,
Lordstown. What's the other one with the truck? Rivian.
Oh yeah.
Rivian, right?
Rivian, however you pronounce it.
And Nikola, and all those are.
Nikola is an electric car company.
Yeah. Fisker too.
Fisker, I know.
They
Fisker.
got the Ocean, right? So none of them are playing with the dealer game. They're like, no, we're gonna do this.
And I for one will not miss the traditional dealership. If they go back to rather than sell you a car, a demonstration area or a repair shop, and it's ridiculous that business model still exists. I don't negotiate for a hamburger at McDonald's.
Well, it's because
you pay the money, you get the burger,
Because enough people made enough money doing it in an old system that they've been fighting to keep it, because they make plenty of money doing it.
And I don't want to change. Just give me more money and let's make laws so I can keep making money the way I want it.
Yeah.
And who's going to sponsor the Little League team if you get rid of the dealership?
They still got to bring that car there.
Printing machine.
The
printing company.
That's stupid. Anyway,
right, so enough of that. Let's go on to other stuff that'll make.
I'm so tired of this. This is not a repeat.
Then why are we even reporting it?
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm
going to do two sentences because two things are important. Another Cannonball record the overall Cannonball record has been broken again, because it's important, because Arnie Tommen and Dave Tabbitt were the guys who said it at the beginning of the Rona. They got mad that a bunch of other people reset it. I believe it's Doug Tabbitt's AMG 63 was actually smashed in a car accident. He was running a blocker for some other Cannonball runners, and a sleepy truck driver slammed into the back of his AMG 63. So he decided they had to reset, but they didn't have a car. So they got a brand new S8, altered the grill and a few other things. It was an S6, to make it look like a Ford Taurus, and it's white. So it kind of camouflaged as a cup car, and they have now reset it. I'm not even going to say the numbers. Let's just keep going.
Yep.
In good news,
Alfa Romeo is celebrating their 110th birthday. The automaker was founded in 1910 in Milano. The name Alfa, with an F, not a PH, you Philistines, started out as an acronym for Anonimia Lombarda Fabbrica Automobili, or Lombardi Automobile Factory. The firm's badge combines the emblem of the city of Milan with the coat of arms of the Visconti family, which ruled the city in medieval times. I like the one, it's the snake swallowing the guy.
Yeah, the snake, the
Yeah.
guy.
Yep, exactly. The Romeo in the name comes from Niccolo Romeo, the person who bought a controlling stake in the company in 1915 and eventually took over completely. So 110 years of making terrible cars that sound good and look good and have the passion and the soul. So put a quarter in the box.
And
Euro.
let's not
Fine.
forget that that the history of that company is intricately intertwined with the history of Ferrari.
Sure.
So you can't be a
with
Ferrari
racing.
fan. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, Enzo raced for Alfa before he created his own company. Alfa
So did the greatest racing
Ferrari.
driver ever,
Dale?
Juan Fangio.
Yeah, Fangio, absolutely. I was going to say Dale just to piss you off, but shout out.
Yeah, he's from Georgia. He ain't gonna get pissed off by that.
Meanwhile, Donnie's in his Toyota going, damn right.
Damn right. Upcoming races. Who's got any kind of upcoming races?
So the Champ car is headed deep into Steph Schrader territory. They're going to be running at Harris Hill with an 8+7 Enduro. They've got 45 cars. 9 of them are BMWs.
Boring.
It's not so bad. That's a small enough number.
No, the
Go on.
ratio's not as bad as it could
Yeah.
be, but
No. 19 Miatas.
That's good. I like that.
yeah,
that's like
one,
half the field.
one Honda and one Porsche.
Yeah, that there could be more of that.
And nothing else interesting. I usually stick
No,
something on the end
I
of
looked
here.
and there really wasn't, like I was looking for like the Gremlin or something. Nope. Like a Firebird, you know. That's
This
like,
is Texas. Aren't
Texas.
there like
Yeah, yeah,
Camaros?
yeah.
that's the
Exactly.
interesting, like not as many as you think. There's some Mustangs and stuff, but it was a pretty boring field. I
Darn.
know. Yeah.
And it's Jeff.
Recent race result. There's none. Just keep going.
No.
Nothing
Yeah.
ran last weekend.
All right, soon.
Soon. Yes.
Listener feedback.
We do have some. Chris G texted me. This is an old school Honda friend of mine. He said, I'm 3/4 of the way through the Thompson episode, and I want to strangle the 350Z team. That can't go unpunished by the organizers. It's so dirty. I said, the recap of the refueling drama was so good. Great storytelling on everyone's part, though. I was enthralled. Very good episode.
If he's
Thanks,
only
Chris.
3/4 through it, boy, it
Well,
gets better.
Yeah, no, he later, you know, he finished it off, but that was what he said to me earlier on. That was good. So, and then Chrissy and I listened to last week's episode in the car
Here
on the
comes
way
the
down.
judgment.
Oh yeah,
Did
knew
you
it
not
was
hear
coming.
it in the text when they texted us and said we have notes?
Yep.
you knew it's coming.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Oh,
like
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, Jeff, you have listeners' feedback for us when you
Absolutely.
listen. So there you go.
I'm ready for my
Um,
feedback. I'm ready for my performance review.
You already had one this year.
Exactly.
Chris sent me an inappropriate text.
Was it his
I did.
dog?
Yep.
Go on.
No dick pics.
Oh.
That's inappropriate. No one wants a dick pic. Anyway, I think I'm glad we're here. I'll put it that way.
It was really long.
It was
Yeah, it was.
really long.
really
this
long.
Is part of our feedback.
Like, yeah.
It helps-
It's when you're in a relationship of any kind with someone who you value their opinion and you know they care about you, they're the ones who can check you, and that's a nice thing to have. Like, I appreciate that Chrissy checks me sometimes, right? And vice versa.
And then you don't
you need to-
listen, but it's cool.
But but at least then I can make the choice to ignore it versus not knowing. And sometimes you just need somebody to go, all right, move on, next segment.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
wrap this up.
You let the talkers on.
You didn't have right.
Yeah, and you guys-
unrestrained.
And
No one-
poor Dave and Aaron and Jim, none of them can't get a word in
Yeah,
edgewise
no.
with you two.
They're unprepared to cut us off.
And you didn't give them any talking points in the first whole half of the show. It's just Jeff, mental, Jeff, mental, Jeff, mental. Then occasionally,
We
Dave.
tried. We actually did try. Hey, you guys want some of this? Nah.
all right.
Or you could
No,
have
but
just
that's
said,
all.
"Here,
I
this
think
is your
we
section."
I think we made Uncle Dave read one of the news, not made, but we got Uncle Dave to read one of the news and notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, that's all I had.
I have one.
Oh, go on. I'm
two,
ready.
2.5 hours in the car, and we were only mildly bored because it was too long.
Yeah.
We had
At some point,
7-hour ride.
At some point, Mental's like, okay, and that was Saturday, and I was like, holy shit, that was only Saturday.
I know.
And I was there.
We were there. Yeah.
My one last comment was that I know Jeff was frazzled because he forgot that it was podcast night.
Yes.
It really helps when you read the copy first. Read it ahead of time.
This has been my advice since show 1.
I know.
Yet,
It was evident on last week's show.
on an unrelated note, if you guys are stuck in a car and you want to listen to a podcast, the Apex Adjacent had an episode with Florida Man Donnie where he presents a PowerPoint of how him and Birdman have owned similar, if not the same cars, and it numbers into the double digits. And it's a very Donnie presentation, if you will. It's worth a listen.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out.
Yes.
So as the resident listener who actually reviews all of the podcasts, I know everything I do wrong. You surprised me with nothing.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well.
Other listener feedback. Is this me on the YouTube? I can't tell if that's green or not. On the YouTube, James Mulhern mentioned another great car that is low horsepower that has done really well. And we know these guys, the Swedish Mafia racing team. They have consistently been in the top 10. They've done 11th overall, but they've won. Did they ever win the race? The Swedish Mafia? No, they have not. In a 110 horsepower Volvo wagon. So, yeah. And he also suggests that the smaller cooler is the way to go in the Cressida and suggests frozen milk jugs instead of ice, which we've done. We've done frozen 2 liters, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we put them in. Do we put them in the cooler?
We tried, but the problem is once they get a little bit melty, then there's so much insulation that it doesn't actually it doesn't really work very well.
Cool as much, yeah.
And we have the problem with the bilge pump, so you have to be careful whatever we put in there.
We got a good solution. Our upcoming solution is going to work. We'll do a show on that one.
Okay.
Racer Rotor Reaction. Sunday was the figure 8 racing in Irwindale. Chrissy, and I joined the commentary. The winners. No, there were no winners in a figure 8 race.
It was hilarious.
We randomly picked number 6 to be the winner, and then we introduced Tyler Stank and told him he won because he was in 6th. He was slightly confused.
That was awesome.
He was like, well, what do you mean I won?
What do you want from me?
Well, you're 6th. You won. No, I was 6th. Yeah, you won. We picked
it was just a
won.
number that Chris picked out. He was like, I think they should win.
Yeah,
we're 6th. Yeah,
it was actually good fun. If you've never done a figure 8, if you've never seen the figure 8 in iRacing, absolutely hilarious.
So good.
Lots of great themes, great camera views. Watching the open wheel formula cars on the figure 8 was also hilarious because they just kind of like fell apart every time they got hit. And then
they started doing the transformer thing where they would rebuild, and as they were crashed, they would rebuild and then land on their wheels and go.
Yeah, it was fun. Definitely check it out. We had a good time. We laughed and yucked it up. Sometimes we talked about the racing. Most of the time we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. E1R race. I didn't make it, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, we had 2 races at Barber. One was normal. Who won that?
I don't know. I think
you were doing that one, Chrissy.
That was I did the first one. It was a small but mighty crew. Thanks for everybody who turned out. I'm pretty sure there was a guy, Dave or Joel. There were 2 guys in this that we didn't know and we couldn't talk to them, and they weren't on our Discord, nor were they talking on the actual on the other channel. So if you won, drop us a line. Tell us who you are. We want to talk to you.
Dave is a listener. Joel, I believe, is a coworker of Jim's.
I don't know.
Either way, if you hear this, tell us so we can get you on the Discord so we can talk to you and so we can, laugh when you go by so fast. That's good.
But the rest of us had a good time.
Yeah, the race 2 was same at Barber, but I put the weather to full variable, which didn't seem to change anything. And then we had Pro 2s, 87s, Legends, and the Kia. And it was just a huge laugh all around. If we did a standing start, that was a complete disaster, which was wonderful. It was great. I think the person who won the second race was probably Nate, who he was in the Kia. He called it the spatula because he'd come up behind all the Pro 2s and just flipped them over. So, no, it was a ton of fun. I rolled into oncoming traffic several times in the Pro 2. Kept having to get towed back. If you know how to like clear penalties for towing, that'd be great.
I don't think you can.
Now I'd sit there waiting while I waiting for my tow and go back out to the main screen, clear everyone else's penalties while I was sitting there. Anyway, it was a ton of fun.
Join us every Monday.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't make it. Join us every Monday. Email us, text us, hit us up on the Instagrams or whatever to get the password, because we're not opening it up to every idiot, just every idiot who listens. So
we're a discriminating group.
Our kinds of idiots.
Our kinds of idiots, yes. So there's a password. It is our favorite brake pad.
Also, if you really like to win, you should just show up because you'll probably win.
Yeah. We don't take it seriously. It's a lot of laughs. And sorry I couldn't make it, but I didn't have a television. My housemates were busy watching.
Your housemates.
My family.
Your family?
Yes, my family, yes.
You make them sound like vagrants.
Unless I wanted to take it like to the 17-incher that's in my bedroom, I didn't have a chance.
Your one housemate is way behind in his rent too. I mean, yes. He's just not shipping in.
Like 11 years or something.
Right.
Yes. So yeah. Yeah,
Fantastic.
when American Ninja Warrior and the Republican convention is on at the same time, because we had to make fun of all of the people on the Republican convention, Daddy doesn't get a TV. So, there it is.
Well, yeah, because there's no way they're clearing the warped wall at all.
Yeah. Don Jr. is not getting up the warped wall.
Not at all. Never gonna happen.
I was like, what are you even talking about? I got it.
You know who else isn't going to get up the warped wall?
Oh, she absolutely will get up the warped wall.
Okay, we'll see.
Chrissy's mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Carol. Yeah.
Hi, Chrissy's mom and Chrissy's sister and brother-in-law and everyone else who's listening, including my brother on YouTube.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, there it is.
Great.
Me, Atomic Time. It has been a while because we've been doing lots of race reporting and things like that since we've had a topic that we had to actually go out and research. But I did some research on this one. And
your research is great. Really like it.
So we're going to talk about burnout. And I'll do the intro real quick, and then I'll
not tires, not tires.
Not the cool
burnout.
kind that we do every chance. Yeah,
not the gnarly kind in the Circle K parking lot.
No, that we wouldn't have to do any research on. That we just know.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
So,
we love freedom.
We're talking about when people say, "Oh, I'm so burnt out on that." Chrissy are like, "Oh, I'm so burnt out listening to Jeff and Mental talk on the podcast."
I was getting there.
2.5 hours.
It was getting there.
People use the term a lot, but they don't really understand what it means. Burnout is a specific feeling of long-term exhaustion and drained energy, typically around work. But people will say it all the time. They'll say, "Oh, I'm so burnt out. I don't want to, I'm living in stress." And, there is a actual thing called burnout syndrome. But like depression versus feeling depressed, I think what we're not going to talk about the clinical sense today. We're going to talk about burnout just like, I'm tired of doing this over and over again. And the stress and everything is totally killing me. And that's the kind of burnout that we're talking about, usually based on some sort of unmovable or unsurmountable frustration, like endurance racing and trying to win. We've talked to a bunch of people in the race world who are just saying that they're feeling burnout. And their teams, we know teams that fall apart. We know people who leave. We know people who stop racing their own car because they can't get it to run anymore. I mean, Tom Lamino will say that he was completely overly frustrated with his Fox and he had to do something different. That's the kind of burnout we're talking about.
Well, the new one too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the new one.
So you can't run on empty forever. If you ignore the stressors that are sucking the passion out of your work or your hobby, you're never going to recover. So yeah, who wants to talk about burnout first?
Well, we mentioned this. The episode 76. We called it "You Lost That Love and Feeling," and we had scheduled a guest who had invested a substantial amount of time and money competing with AER. And finally, it was just this heartbreaking post on Facebook of, I can't do this anymore. And as he posted it, I could relate. And we had scheduled that person to come on the show. And they had actually gotten to the point where they had induced a headache so bad they had to go to the hospital. So they missed the recording. And, so I've reached back out and talked to that person. Jeff's research here, I'm going to go through that. There are, what you'll find in work related, but also activity related, is there's an overload burnout. And that's what most of us kind of feel when we get into the sport. And I would argue almost it's going to happen to everyone, some form
at
or
some point,
level.
in some way, about something. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the overload burnout, and that's just it's you're working harder and you're getting less. And this is particularly bad if you initially jumped into this sport and met with some success and now it's not happening. And then there's the under challenge, which is, this is boring to me. I'm not going to do this anymore. I've taken this as far as I can at this level.
And that definitely happens to a lot of people in work. Their work becomes mundane. They are the accountant in the room full of accountants, and they sit there and they punch numbers all day, and they're just like, this is not what I signed up for. I'm stone bored at my job every day, making the widgets, and I'm burnt out.
Yep.
Go on, Mental.
And the final one is, it's called neglect, and it's a helpless feeling. And so 21% of the employees who fell into this category agreed with statements like, when things don't work out as well as they should, I stop trying. All right, can't win, not going to try. And you just quit. You genuinely think Office Space.
I have an employee who's like that now.
I'm just doing just enough to not get fired because I like having a house and I don't want to go do anything else. So
neglect burnout also comes in a lot of, I hate to bring it up, but relationships and marriages.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah. And we're talking about burnout to the point of racing, and we've got more than one, but specifically a good friend who's recently expressed this type of thing, where what is once bringing you joy is now bringing you misery, and you can avoid it, but if you hit it, we're going to offer some personal experiences and some experiences of some of our listeners and try and get you on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's going to happen to everybody at some point, and we got to do something about it. So, so here's a situation that I know I've encountered, and I think we all have at some point in life, but you've got one or two people doing most of the work. So it's essentially like the one person builds the car and does all the fixes and does all that, and maybe does all the camping and all the
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. and no one else has shown up to help out. And then they, you show up to the track, and then sometimes those people aren't even helping out at the track. And so it's this one person doing all the stuff, who's probably paying more than everybody else is too to fix everything, who's putting all the work in and all the time. And then it's like, so Chrissy's seen me flip out about this. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? Why am I building two cars and spending all this time, do everything just so all these people can come drive them? Why don't I just do one and I'll drive it, and I don't care about everybody. I'll get all the seat time. It doesn't matter. So it's a problem. And I think you see that, especially when you get into teams that start with one car and then they get more cars and they get more people. And then all of a sudden, where does the buck stop? And you don't want to disappoint people. Like, oh, these are my friends. I want them to come drive with us. I want to do that. But at some point, you can't do it.
You start to feel there's a possible obligation. So, you don't want to let your friends down because you want to keep providing a great experience, which is kind of what we do and we pride ourselves on. All these people are looking for that. So it keeps pushing you harder. And then you're just, yes, Chris is absolutely throwing tools and saying, I'm staying up every night, all night, to try to make this a great experience for somebody, and just out of a sense of obligation.
And this isn't, go ahead, Mr.
Well, finish your point, Jeff.
Okay, I was going to say, this isn't Chris, so I don't want people to read into this. I was counseling another team that was having some difficulties, and I got the sense that this whole the hole, HOLE, that this person dug to get into this situation was based on, like, in the beginning, it sounded cool to be the person in charge. And it's no, like, seriously, like I want it to be my way or the highway. But then they didn't realize that when you eliminate other people from the decision, you know, and this is leadership theory, you don't get as much help because you're the one making the decision. So you're the one with the responsibility. So you're the one who now has to carry a heavier burden. And heavier burden sounds cool when you're deciding which turbo to put on. Again, we're not talking about Chris because none of us would know what
I have no input on turbos. Exactly.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It doesn't sound.
Here's the answer: which turbo to put on? None.
Yeah.
None
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like when you're making the decisions, you're taking on that greater responsibility, and then you realize that the work is larger than you expect, and then you end up managing more emotions and feelings and work than you expected. So, and again,
so the person that we reached, he had burned out and he's back to it. And I asked him a pointed question about balance. And one of the things is he answered, my first thought is balance is the foremost amount of effort I'm willing to invest. You know, like most people that do this, none of us are independently wealthy, full-time job, family. And knowing that his work suffers when he's going full tilt into this. But what the contributing factor of the burnout is he was pulling all-nighters because he was trying to be a commodity that people would be willing to hire. So he was providing a seat for people that were paying money. And there was a sense of obligation there. And the buck did stop there, and unwilling to hand that off. It was a point of personal pride when the car broke. And so they would end up overextending themselves. And now they found a balance of, I've got this group of people that'll pay for a seat. When the car breaks, they understand that the car breaks. And then also I just buy seats in other people's cars where I don't have to worry about as much. And, you know, Chris has mentioned before that he only likes to have people that have built or, contributed cars because they're a lot more respectful of his efforts.
Best teams ever are people who have their own teams. It's amazing. Every time I'm on one of those teams, we're like tripping over each other.
Stuff is getting done.
Right. Like, oh, I'm going to go over and rotate those tires. I get over. Oh, well, someone's already doing that. All right. Like, you know,
Can I help with dinner? Nope. Already done.
Already. Right. Exactly. Those are
clean up these tools. Nope. They're pretty good.
Already done.
And we've talked about, we've really defended ourselves from some of this burnout, but we've dealt with it. We've had ups and downs.
Oh,
and, you know, and I think Chrissy's going to bring up the Z.
I am
looking ahead,
right now.
So
let's do it right now.
Opening the door.
Let's finish this topic first.
Fine.
And I think every one of these, we need to talk about solutions, because this is not a complaining thing. This is solutions. So how do you avoid the one or two people doing too much work and getting burned out? Is you have to stop and focus on the priorities. And if you can't get to the other stuff, you can't get to the other stuff, or you ask people for help. And you know, these are your teammates. You're supposed to be able to work together with them. If you can't get it done, say so.
And communicate clearly what your expectations are.
Right.
The team that I was counseling before, you know, it was obvious that the communication was not presented correctly. And if you don't ask correctly, you don't get the right answer, and then you assume that you got to take, you know, it becomes a terrible downward spiral of personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you've got to say something. And, you know, if you talk to your teammates and you say, I just can't get this one done, or I can't do this one done without help, no one's really going to be all that butthurt.
And if they are,
you don't want them. Yeah.
You don't want them.
Get rid of them.
So there you go. Know your limits and you know, spread the load around and ask for help. Communicate.
Ask for help,
There's your solution.
Communicate.
Cool.
Love that.
Yeah, and asking for help is usually hard for a lot of people. So figuring it out, I think identifying it is half the issue. If you're that person and it's stressing you out too much. Okay, well, let's move on to the next idea and provide some solutions for it. Too much work to do in a given time frame. So I could not go. I was just going to make this green, but I just decided I was going to type in it. Let's talk about the Z for a second. This is a project. We're just going to talk about it. That's how it's going to be. A project needs to get done, and it's such a big project, and it's easier to neglect. This is Jeff. pointing right at you. Where we know that their car has potential, we're all excited about it, and but there are just so many barriers that are getting to making it race ready, and I feel like there's another couple topics, as we're going to talk about later, that fit into this project. And well, I mean, so the solution is you need a realistic time frame. Jeff does not work well unless there is a time frame. Like Chris will get stuff done because he wants it out of the house, get it ready, get it done now, and be done with it. Jeff needs to say, this has to be done by September 1st or else, or there is a problem. How can we help you get this project done?
We don't have to make this completely about Jeff, but this is is not a let's pick on Jeff. This is an example though.
No, but sure. Okay. Plenty of people need a time frame to get things done. And if you don't have the time frame and figure out that somebody works better with a time frame, you say, how can I help you to get to this, to get the goal done so it gets done on time, and delegate. Yes, Mental.
I would argue as much as the Z is an example of that. And that is actually a good thing too. It's also an example of the opposite side where Jeff's like, guys, I don't have the skill set for this, or this isn't going to work, or we're going to have to go a different plan with that engine. And I know I have, not in a non-joking manner, I've accepted that once we got the cage and the Z and the motor was still ticking after we did all that stuff on that work weekend, I just accepted the Z is a long-term project. It's just, and not, the boat you guys built in a couple of weeks, but understanding the level that we wanted to compete at, you could do it fast or you could do it right. And I mentally accepted last year that the Z was just going to be something that's going to happen down the road. And I don't think anybody saw the Rona coming. Otherwise I would have invested a whole lot better and we'd all be running IMSA right now.
How do you make money during the Rona? Yeah.
Well, all the Zoom stock you can. All the Zoom stock.
Right.
Absolutely. Oh, but it crashed the other day. So yeah, and we're talking about solutions here, and I could say that absolutely.
Hi,
Jen. They're saying hi to you, Jen. They're waving at you. She's waving back as she looks at her desk. So anyway, the Z project, I communicated extremely early on in the Rona. Yeah, this can't get done with just me because I can't physically sling the motors and all those other, I can work on a motor when it's in the right place, but I need work weekends. And as soon as the Rona happened, that kind of got pushed off. But anyway, communicate, delegate. This is absolutely important. I told Chris from the very beginning, these are the things that I will be able to do and the things that I won't be able to do. So, if the project is too much work, again, the solution is talk, delegate, communicate.
That leads right into the next one.
We're all A-typers to various levels. There are B-type personalities inside our little community of A-type personalities, but if you race a car, you're an A-type. And there is a huge tendency across the board to bite off more than you can chew and have completely unrealistic expectations about how you're going to do this. Every now and again, I haven't done it this year, but I still go do the supercar experience. And there's an experienced instructor who's done a lot of track days. And he says constantly, if all of us as instructors decided to go lemons racing, we would totally win. And I quit being polite about it. I just point and laugh at him. I'm like, I don't think you understand, buddy. It's so much more than that. Chrissy says this constantly and no one listens. Well, none of the new teams listen. All the old teams get it. There are no scouts in the stands. All right. You're not getting a pro contract out of this, no matter how good you are. So if you view this hobby at any level, not just lemons, champ, AER, WRL, all that stuff, if you view this as your ticket to a pro ride, you just stop. Just stop right now because you're not getting it. Lemon started this whole thing 15 years ago, and all the other series
are offshoots.
Took that formula and made it to their particular demographic. Lots of rules, not a lot of rules. High-end cars, not high-end cars, however you want to do it. So this all started about 15 years ago. So the total number of folks that have started in amateur endurance racing and gotten a pro ride, let me count all this up. Oh, it's literally no one ever. Now, there's plenty of pro drivers that come back and do this stuff. And
Can I say something real quick?
Oh God.
Why do the pro drivers say that they come?
Oh, because they love it's relaxed competition and they
It's
don't have to
fun.
perform. Yeah, exactly. That's an
It's
excellent point.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah, they've realized that they can relax, let their hair down, and have a blast.
Yes, absolutely. And so you get these and there's still a couple teams that compete in the series, and surprise, surprise, they rarely finish, much less top 10, but they get to, well, if I do something, I do it all the way. All right. Yeah, that's great, buddy. Accept this reality. You're not going to win a race, your first race. You're not going to win overall your first year. Just not. Pure data analysis. That's not ego. That's data. You look at every team across the board in every series that does well. In our series, us, Save the Tatas, Amanda, the Monrath team, the Lemonade Racing. Who else am I missing? Cerveza. Eyesore. These are teams that have been at it 5 to 10 years. They have got their interpersonal communications down. Their vehicles are refined. Save the Tatas has a couple of former pro drivers in there. You look into the other series, your WRLs, Rocksteady Racing. These are the boring teams like Casey Carden and Matt Connolly Motorsports. These are organizations that have been together. And while those last two are pay-for-seat organizations, they have a very limited roster of people that they will accept because they have integrated into their organization and they have found the right combination of mechanics that keep those cars running up front. And did not happen in a year. It did not happen in 5 years. This is an extended personality and organizational development. So if you're bummed now because you're not getting what you want out of this hobby, do you even really know what you want out of this hobby? Oh, I'm going to go racing because it'll be fun. Oh, this sucks because I didn't win. Those are contradictory statements, and you've got to kind of organize your thoughts. Do you know what you want? And is that a realistic expectation? And if your goal is to have fun, you can't get all red misty when you get past. If your goal is to win, then you can't stay up drinking all night having fun. And I do want to mention this because it kind of crawled in the back of my head. No hot tub and a start at noon. And we won our first race. I don't know if that's coincidence or if I'm just looking for that.
No.
Total coincidence.
No, but I mean, there was the point where we talked about needing to get more serious.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided.
When you poured the moonshine on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too.
I think it's wanting, though, not needing.
Yeah,
wanting
it's now, what did we say? Thank God we can party again. Because we were stressing ourselves with the need to perform and maybe missing out some of those.
Flag. We were stressed.
Okay, all right, hold on. So
go on.
There's more here to a bigger project.
Yeah, I want to go a completely different direction on this thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Everyone's first wacky motor swap is this. Everyone's. Unless you are a super fabricator.
Yeah.
I don't care unless you're, Jesse Combs. And even then, her first wacky motor swap over
probably was like this, yeah.
Right. So I can give several examples from this group staring at us. Mental, Datsun truck, and BMW parts. Right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Right.
And underestimated how much my regular job was going to take for me at that time. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. The just for me even the K swap in the Civic. That was, a known thing, but that was a big project, right? It took a lot to do.
With a lot of lessons learned from the turbo path. Yeah.
Jeff, the Z swap right now, boom, big project. It's a lot, I can think off the top of my head, several other people that I know who have decided I'm going to do a wacky engine swap because this engine sounds great. How hard can it be? And the car sits in a corner that maybe there's engine mounts. And that's where it stops, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Garage Heroes. They've had their what the heck is that?
I was trying not to name them.
The Ford, the Capri. Thank you.
The Capri,
they've said on their show that they are no longer pursuing the Capri swap.
Yeah, it's just not, at least not for a couple of years. It's just not the right time. It's too big a project. It's over their heads. It's more than they can chew. So it happens. it seems like a great idea, whether it was an alcohol fueled time or a lack of knowledge of really what goes into it, or just over enthusiastic. All these things happen. At some point, you've got to call it. It's the sunk cost fallacy. Sometimes you just got to realize that's not the right way and find a different answer.
Yeah.
Before you get too far down and burn out in a project and end up in wiring spaghetti hell, and then you never get to go racing. Where if you just given it up, sold the parts, bought something else that was simpler, now you'd be racing instead of poking your eyes out with your multimeter. So,
yeah.
Ow.
Love that.
I don't love that.
Yeah.
I want to hear Chrissy's input on this one. We got some other stuff. So, unsupportive other life, negative impacts to the other life. Like, no one's doing this professionally. And when it starts to affect, when it starts to affect your job, then it's ultimately going to affect your racing because you're going to lose your job. But realistically, the thing it'll affect long before it affects your job is your personal relationships, both your racing and your non-racing relationships. If you're over your head and not wanting to admit it, or you're not communicating to your teammates that you feel like you're the only one doing the work, you're going to get angry and snippy, and your work is going to suffer on that one. And your significant other, or your children, or your parents, or whatever, would be like, I don't even know who you are. You're always in the garage. And you've got to find that balance, and the balance for Chris, and the balance for Chrissy, and the balance for Jeff, the balance for me it's all different, and it changes from day to day. But I feel like we've got a pretty good handle on balance as far as, I know when I'm over my head. Now I'll stay there a little bit like, no, this sucks. I'm going back to the shallow end where I was comfortable before. But Chris, like, one of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And
that's coming up next. Don't worry.
Okay. So,
we're getting to that. But
beating your head against the wall over failures.
Yeah, but even to finish up the last one, like if you've got, say your spouse, your kids, like they're being negatively impacted by this, or they just completely don't support it, say, whatever, I don't really like you doing that. That's going to lead to burnout quickly. And so either you have to just communicate with them about why this is important to you, and then talk about finding a balance for what is the right amount of time that you can give to this thing that you're passionate about. And not have your house falling down, or your toenails growing too long because you're not even bathing, or like whatever it is that's the negative impact, or like your children be like, "Who is that man?" When the
hotel lobby clerk tells you that you can have that breakfast, but you're not allowed to stay there anymore because they think you're homeless and not an actual guest staying there. Maybe that's, time to consider.
Exactly. So there's your solution to that. Once again, it comes down to communication. All right. So then, like Mental said, definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different answer. This is the beating your head against the wall failure of burnout. You just keep trying, and it just doesn't work. And you just keep trying, and you do the same thing again, thinking, I'll do it better this time. And you do. And then it works, and then it doesn't. And this was like where we were with the Turbo Honda. It was amazing, and then it blew up
for a very short time.
No,
like we'd get like a race and a half or two races out of it.
I mean, compared
to
10 races on the motor before it.
But it was long enough for us to feel like there was success. So you're like, oh, okay, this is working. Oh, and then it's not.
Right. Like we came in second at that one race in Thompson with the turbo car, and it works, and then it doesn't, and it works and it doesn't, and you're driving yourself crazy. Like I wasted so much time porting cylinder heads and building motors for half a summer that like I could have been going hiking or out in the boat.
or spending time with your wife. There's that.
Well, you were kind of there
Chris
some of the times.
Chris Egan right now is listening, going, that Z, that turbo Dodge. It was. I mean, this is really, and he has well documented this in many discussions.
Yeah,
it was great fun for the fleeting times that it worked.
Yeah, and then the rest of the time he's fighting that stupid Chrysler lump.
Yeah, and he has made the decision that he would rather race and have fun with his family. I mean, his father, his sister, all these other people are driving with him. So he got a boring Saab. It's actually pretty cool. I'm
Well,
gonna say that
it was
right
his
now.
dad's
It
car
was
he
his-
bought new.
Yeah, exactly. So, a big old Saab wagon, and man, that thing just moves around the track again and again and again, and they all get so much more seat time that they've made the decision that that is a better way to race.
Yeah. And even like we all had to have the discussion when that turbo motor blew up on the dyno of I'm not going to do this again. Like this is not working. We gave it a shot. We gave it our best effort. It's not working long term enough. Yeah, it's fun when it works, but we're not going to keep doing this because it was burning me out to keep
Also,
doing that.
running out of parts. So
Well, that too.
that
Yeah,
was it. That was a thing, and that's part of it. Like if you can't get the parts to port them and spend 8 million hours on them fixing them to the way that you want, then you can't. It does not helping anybody either.
Yeah. So in that case, at some point you've got to call it. You need to recognize that it's not working and go a different direction, even if you're so far down that rabbit hole, which I was. It's not going to work. You have to stop. Forget the sunk cost. It's over. You tried it. It didn't work. It's like with the motor swap you're trying to do, and then you're too far in. You got to stop, even though you're deep in, because it's not going to give you the end result you're looking for.
And I would submit also that the wise thing to do before you try wacky swap or, massive upgrade, whatever, that big decision is you establish the line before you get down that hole. Like if by point A, X doesn't happen, then I'm going to go in a different direction. But none of us do that because it's insidious. But when you recognize that you're chasing the dragon down that hole, you need to go ahead and set that line. All right, I'm going to give this exactly this many more chances. And when you get to those chances, walk away.
That
Just one
sounds
more.
so
Just one
good.
more.
Yeah.
I just don't feel
Just
like
one
that's
more.
reasonable though.
Because of the sunk cost fallacy, exactly what
Yeah.
Chris said.
Yeah.
You feel
it's-
like you got to chase it.
Or it's like with gamblers too.
The tail is right there.
I just need one
touch
more,
it.
right? One more hand or one
I-
more roulette roll. Like it's going to work this
coming.
time.
It's coming.
It'll work. Yeah, exactly. Or I just need to send away to Germany for this, no longer manufactured throttle body that is.
Yeah, exactly. So at some point you got to know when to call it, because it's not actually getting you to where you need to be.
No.
So if it's not making progress toward your goal, stop it.
And I want to go
Okay.
back to our guest because I asked him what brought you back. You were done. Hated racing and everything there was to do with it. And he's looking at all the social media and all his friends are doing track days and autocrossing and just remembering the joy when they first started getting into this hobby. And if you're chasing an engine swap or a transmission swap or some sort of impossible mechanical thing, you're not doing the thing that you got into this sport to do, which is drive.
Yeah.
Interesting. Chrissy, you have a story here.
It's not a story. It's just more of I've been trying to come up with what I find is burnout, and I kept feeling like I am burnout, and I'm kind of happy to hear that it sounds like I'm not the only one. But when I'm reading Jeff's message of overload burnout, I like people work harder and ever more frantically in search of success, and I feel like that's what we've done to try to win. And we won, and I thought when we weren't going to win, I was like, if we're number 2, is that enough? And do we want to keep doing this? And I feel like I think I'm burnt out. And so like we're talking about going to CMP, we're going to CMP. And I was like, I don't really want to
Again, I'm the only jerk off who's got to go to work and can't
Well,
go to CMP.
but I was like, I don't want to
You'll have
drive.
to take Friday off,
This is
Jeff.
Jeff whining. No, actually, I have to take 2 weeks off if I travel to a state that's on the list.
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
Right? Okay. So, but I was like, I'm not going, when we go to CMP, I'm not driving. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to drive right now. Like we did it once. I'm good. And I just feel like I need a break. And I don't know what casual racing with friends is like, because even when we weren't going to win, we we're trying to do well enough. Like we were happy when we were in 7th or 2nd. Like Hamza, when we were in Barber, we were racing Barber. Hamza was like, we were looking at the board, and the one time that when I was racing, I was in 2nd, and I didn't know, and they wouldn't tell me until I looked up at the board, and I could see, because Barber has a huge tower right in the middle of it and tells you what place you're in. And then at some point I was going around and it said I was in 1st. And so it's one of those, that's the high. You're like, oh, we're doing really well. Let's keep up with it. Of course, Hamza's good at level setting us and saying, stop it. You're not supposed to be winning. Slow down. But it's things like that. It's things like that you're just like, well, if you're doing well enough, let's try to win. And then you just keep kind of getting back to that because you're racing and you're racing to win. So it's one of those, like, if you don't play, you're at the bottom and you don't really care. But I forget what that's like. So I feel like I'm the definition of this burnout. And I don't think it'll last long, but it's one of those, hit the high, live there for a while, try to picture what life is like after.
I think a couple races of casual racing with friends, and we're going to find ourselves in like 4th. And,
and it'll turn on again. I have...
we can push this a little bit.
Put it in my face.
Yeah. But I want to say that you can be burnt out in lemons or racing or whatever, not just trying to win. You can burn out trying to build something crazier, trying to party harder, trying to get to too many races, trying to bring too many cars. Like, we keep talking about winning because that's our current mode of maybe burnout, but it can be so many other things. Getting that Shelby Daytona to survive a race could be the mountain that you're trying to surmount. Getting all of your friends to show up with lunch.
I am so over that.
No, but I'm saying, we happen to be talking about winning, but you could be burned out for many different stressors.
You're absolutely right.
And this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to turn it on then to everyone talking about recovery. It's the stressors that cause the burnout. It's not the project. It's not the win. It's whatever stressor is getting in the way of you pursuing it as the passion. And it could be the money, or it could be the significant other who says, what do you mean you're racing again? It could be that the car won't run. It could be that you keep coming in 2nd. There is a stressor that is causing the burnout. And I'll just pass it there and say, Mental, you want to say something? And then I want to get on to recovery.
Muhammad Ali said it's not the mountain that gets you to stop climbing. It's the pebble in your shoe.
Yeah.
The blister.
Or 10.
The blisters.
Mr. Blister.
So how do you combat it? How do you recover from it if you find yourself going down the whole open forum? Who wants to say something?
I'll throw this out there. We've mentioned it before, and it'll come back to this. Balance. It's supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, what are you doing? You're not getting a pro ride. This is not a ticket to a different life. This is supposed to be an outlet. And this is the same if you're a racer, golfer, you play in church league basketball. If you have gotten so competitive or so dependent upon something that you're not having fun anymore, you've really got to pull back and re-examine that. Examine what you're putting in versus what you're getting out. I won't go it again, but I had the too many races, too much money racing burnout. And I'm at a race and the car broke again, and I'm losing my mind. And Chris and Chrissy are laughing their heads off about something else. And them having fun was irritating me until I finally just popped that fuse in my brain and went back to, oh yeah, this is funny. And I did get to wrap up that weekend by saying, hey, hold my beer while I go drive this, and pull the car up on a trailer. But yeah. Balance.
We've already talked about goals. We've talked about realistic goals, so we don't need to really go down that path. The goal should be having fun before the goal is winning or surviving or winning that IOE.
What do you define as fun? You've got to define.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. And thank you, Mental. Do you want to continue, or do you want me to go for it?
No. Sorry.
So you have to define what your plan is and stick to the fun. If the fun is drinking with your friends and wrenching on the car, by the way, I love wrenching. Chris says, realistically, I only wrench so I can drive. When our car is running and someone else's isn't, I go over and I wrench because that's like the tinkerer in me.
Knee pads.
Yeah. So, like, if the car runs all the time, I might not enjoy it. So know where your passion is, know how to get enough of that passion, even if it's sitting in the hot tub and drinking with your friends, and it just happens to be car adjacent, even if it's the costumes. I mean, how many people do we know who are like, costume, like they spend more time on their theme than they do on the car. That's great. That is a great way to enjoy the races. Do it. Let's see here.
Totally.
What else do I want to say? Budget, resource, time, develop, organize. These are all just, you figure out what the stressor is and you remove it. If it's the people you're with, change the people you're with. If it's the attitude of the people with, but you love them, help change their attitude. If you can't find your freaking wrench, you got to learn to organize before you get to the track.
Or buy like a 6-pack of 10mm wrenches, and you
Yeah.
always will be able to find one because they're littered everywhere like Johnny Appleseed.
If you find yourself thrashing the day before every single race and not having enough sleep before you get there because your car wasn't done, then you need to plan further out. None of this is rocket science. You find what is causing the stressor and you attack the stressor.
And don't be afraid to do it, because people will get worried. Oh, well, I don't want to disappoint this person. I don't want to, you let this person down. I don't, whatever it is, it's not worth it in the long term. It's really not. Whatever it is that you're worried about, address it, and it'll be okay, but you'll be better for it, and you can keep going, and you'll enjoy this thing you're doing. And the people that you're worried about, they can either figure it out, do something else, or they'll at least appreciate that you're enjoying it. Right.
I do want to say on the equipment, don't think of what you need. In fact, think of what you don't need. There's a lot, we all fall into the hole of, oh, well, if I need this, I need this additional piece of equipment, and then everything will go simple. Start looking at what you can do without, because very quickly your support can become a stressor. Oh my God, I didn't bring my third spare rear end. That's why we lost. If you're going through 3 rear ends, the problem is not the rear ends. The problem is you've got
the problem is
something else is
spare parts. Yeah.
Something else is breaking that. But start realistically looking at what you can do without. Chris and Chrissy have done an amazing job of minimizing their footprint at the racetrack while maximizing their capabilities. And there's been big purchases, but those purchases have been researched and thought out, and they will meet these qualifications before we will consider them. And this is the price that we're looking into. If you've never seen Chrissy pack the Suburban, it will put
it's very efficient.
It will put the world. Yeah, exactly. It will put
doesn't need to be now that I have my fancy trailer that can take more of my junk.
Which is also still hideously organized.
That's true.
Jeff and I don't put things in the car. We just bring them to the trailer, and then we leave them there because there's a spot for all of it.
Please just do that.
Yeah, just bring less crap.
Yeah, I when we had the boat and we were doing track walks on bikes, it would take me an hour just to load all the bikes.
But it was so good. Well, no, but you had a Tetris for the boat.
Absolutely.
You knew exactly where every part went in, where the bikes hang, where the wheels go. You had a whole plan.
It was an open trailer, so that's all you could do.
It's why you have a pickup as a race car, because you can put stuff in it. But we were focused on, I got to bring all the bikes so everyone. No, we could walk the track. And sure, was the bikes fun? Yes. Would I love to throw in?
Now I can carry my drink with me.
Yeah, I mean, but sometimes you focus on the wrong things. Just like Mental was saying, sometimes you think you need 3 different differentials and rear ends, and that stresses you. HAMSA does not find that as a stressor. And this is where I'm saying it is a personal decision to what is important to you. And Hamza loves to organize and loves to label stuff and loves to know where every single little bit and boop is. And that is his comfort zone.
And label it wrong.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah. I don't care about that. I throw everything at the last second because I don't know where it is, because that's the way that I don't get stressed.
Yeah. Jeff, where's this thing? Hang on. Arm deep in a bucket. And all of a sudden, there it is.
There it is. There it is. Yes. But what I'm saying, this is all personal. We can tell you how to run a team, but only you can intrinsically look in yourself and figure out what that stressor is.
Yeah.
There's some other stuff that I think is important here. So like time management and satisfaction and relationships. I think it's important for us to hit it, but I don't know.
Go for it.
Okay.
Let's go for it. We'll hit the high points, and if we have stuff to say, we go at it.
I don't think we need to say all of it, but relationships. We have said this before. If racing stopped tomorrow, I would still hang out with all of these people. It's about the people who happen to be adjacent to the cars, who happen to be competing on a racetrack for silly trophies and nickels. It's not the race that makes me like these people. It's not the experience that makes me love these people. It's the people. So if you're not having a good time with the people, if you're not having good relationships, if you're just surrounding yourself by hot shoes who are going to drive the car real fast, you're in the wrong series.
Or sport, even.
Or sport. Because endurance racing is not that. Go to the SCCA and race sprint races as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Time management. I love what Mental said before about the life of your life sometimes gets in the way. The entire Betty team did not come to Connecticut because they had floods at mothers' houses and, jobs that are like work on telephone poles and, all of these things that were way more important than winning a silly race. And if you got to take care of your family and you got to tell your 5 friends, hey, look, I'm out this time. Do it. Because that stressor can't be brought into the race. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? I think I've seen, again, I've counseled other teams in this. Sometimes the team doesn't agree with what they want to be. If you want to be fast, be on a fast team. If you want to be fun, be on a fun team. If you want to be in great costumes, be on a great costume team. If you're on the wrong team.
If you get one person who's saying, oh, overall or nothing, and the other person going,
IOE.
Right. And another person going, I don't want to wrench on anything. I just want to sit here, drive for a shift, and chill and eat chips. This team is not going to work.
No.
Yeah. And I would offer, if you don't know the answer to that question, try all of them. Try I love racing with the Inglorious Bastards, and they've had some fast cars. Right now, they've got 2 of the most unreliable Miatas, I think, in the series. And when invariably both of them break, and I know that they're going to fix them in the offseason, and both of them break, they're all like, yeah, all right, we gave it a shot. What's for dinner? And then we sit around and drink bourbon. And as Jerry loves to say, we start drinking and telling lies. And that is the highlight of the weekend for me, is us sitting around a broken car, just laughing so hard that our stomachs hurt, and and then we having gone with, hot shoe teams and IOE teams, dip your toe in all those pools. You'll find out where you belong. And even after that, maybe still reset every now and again and go with something completely different if for no other reason, to remind you what it is you want.
Yeah, we've tried all them things. And all those things are the right goals at the time, too. That doesn't mean the goal continues. You can be the same group of people trying a whole bunch of different things. We've done all of those things.
Absolutely. And we had a heart-to-heart together about what it would take to chase the win.
Mm-hmm.
And what did it mean? It meant no longer chasing and building an IOE. And we took many years off. How long has it been since we've had an IOE car?
How long is it? Citroen.
Shit.
2016.
Painted myself in that corner.
Sure did.
I mean, but we loved our.
But I think we were getting a little burned out on the IOE's car.
I think so too.
And driving them, so we got away from that. We went to this.
And now we did this, and now we're going to do something else.
And I don't know, was it, did we make that plan? Or did we just kind of just like, the Citroen still lives in the garage. We're just like, yeah, you just go over there. I don't know that this was a conscious
Oh, no,
thought.
I remember the
To chase
discussion.
the win?
Okay.
No,
yeah.
It was on one of our New Year's goals episodes, and Chris leans back and he crosses his arms and goes, I would like an overall.
I think we
We
talked
all
about it
kinda
in
went-
Atlantic City.
Yeah, so we don't have.
Oh, wait,
this.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Chrissy might not have been together enough to remember that.
I was sleeping in a
Well,
chair.
it's the only thing we didn't have, so that's why it was our goal.
Yeah.
All right.
Go for it. So anyway,
Who else has anything on this topic? Go on. I think
No.
we've covered a lot.
yeah, I like the way you put it, Jeff. Find your stressor and remove it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Even if it's a 2.2 liter turbo Dodge.
and even if it's painful to remove the stressor, it's less painful than the long run. Pull the Band-Aid off. Do it.
Love that.
Pop the blister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or
And
don't.
communicate.
Actually, I've learned sometimes you don't pop them. Leave them.
Yes.
Some of them.
Or at least
Communicate.
take the boots off that are causing the blister.
Yeah.
Oh, that happened every time we stopped.
Yeah.
Take your shoes off.
What are we doing tonight? Is it just the
Yep.
You bet it is.
It is.
And this time, surprise, Chris is giving you just the tip.
It's just the tip. You know, Chrissy and I were sitting around trying to figure out what to do for just the tip tonight. And I was thinking, oh, we just got a new generator today. And all these hurricanes are hitting the South. They're going to need some generators. And all of the Northeast just got, the tropical storm that knocked power out to all of Connecticut. So they didn't have any food in the grocery stores. They all had generators, right? Let's think about some generator safety. We've got hurricanes, derechos. We've got sketchy track power at CMP.
Oh, that's sketchy.
I love that you put that in there.
Right. I mean, there's all these reasons we need generators, and enough people are stupid enough they're going to hurt themselves. Don't get hurt in your rush to try to get your Netflix back on again quickly. There's little things you can do, like don't run your generator inside, especially in an enclosed space where you are. Like, this seems simple, but just don't do that. Put it outside. All right. Especially like the exhaust. Point that away. Point the exhaust away.
That's a gas motor, everybody.
Right.
Or diesel motor, I guess.
Yep. Or natural gas or propane, potentially. It's whatever. It's burning dead dinos somehow.
Whatever it puts out, you can't breathe.
You don't breathe it, right? This is not a hydrogen generator putting out water. Next, keep it dry. Especially if you're going to be touching it. It might rain, put a tarp over it or something. See what, on a shelter, not just directly over it. That's not going to work. It needs to vent. But see what you can do to keep it dry, and don't like touch it with wet hands. Don't like stand in a puddle with wet soaking hands as you grab the cord to pull it out of there. That's a bad idea. Water and electricity don't really mix. Next, how you connect it to your house. There's a few things about this. Make sure that if you're connecting it the right way. Ideally, you have a transfer switch on your panel that you plug in that was installed by a licensed electrician, blah, 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 blah. That's the best way. Do it that way if you can. Or if you have a smaller generator, just connect stuff directly to it with quality extension cords. That's great. The thing you don't want to do is make a double-ended plug on your 220 circuit, plug one end into your generator and one end into your dryer receptacle. Because not only are you backfilling your house with electricity, but if you don't shut off your panel, you are putting electricity out into the wires, into the world. And that when some poor guy who's trying to get your power on and is in the rain at 4:00 in the morning, he's going to touch that wire, and guess what? It's hot from your stupid generator. So make sure that if you're going to connect your house to a generator, that you shut off the breakers, so it's not getting back out into the world, because that's going to hurt somebody.
3 days of no power in Hewitt, and I contemplated doing this. I had the switch panel apart, and I had cut the end off of the power cord, and I thought better of it. I said, I shouldn't be doing this.
And you listened, which is
to myself.
And great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
a shame.
I
Like
wanna-
Bruce is a lineman. He does cable company stuff, but still he's up there. Can you imagine poor Bruce? He's up there trying to do his job. Well, he doesn't go up the
The
poles
younger
anymore.
guy does. He
The
sits
younger
in the truck.
guy does.
Yeah.
Right.
But if that younger guy gets shocked, Bruce has got to go up now.
And
He's gotta
he's
get
got
out
to
of the
do the
truck.
accident report. You're right.
Right. Exactly. So these are real people. They have a real consequences from those kind of things. You think, well, how bad can it be? It is. And last, turn the generator off and let it cool a little bit before refueling, because that's the thing you want to do is splash some gas or gas vapors on that hot exhaust, because especially the crappy generators, they don't have much for mufflers. It's just like a little sheet metal box. And if you look at those at night, those things glow.
Yeah.
So, it's hot. Don't pour your gas on there. You're going to catch fire and you're going to have a bad time.
I want to say a thing about the electrical cords. There was a thing, Jeff had it in the news. It was a lady who posted something on Facebook about, don't buy these extension or the jumper cables from Amazon. And they were like 10 gauge or like 12 gauge.
They were like really thin.
They were phone cords, basically, that they did jumper cables. If you are running a generator power stuff at the track or your house beforehand, I would suggest going to a welding supply store and getting a proper extension cord. I have 2 good 30-footers that I bought from welding supply, actually for my welder, because when I had to run it off the wall outlet, I was getting a break in the amperage and it was affecting my welding. So you get a good, proper, thick, heavy extension cord.
Like a 10 gauge, 8 gauge, something like that. Yeah.
Nothing you would get at Walmart.
Yeah. So Chrissy would be glad to know that I have a propane house generator. Because
clean and efficient.
It is clean, efficient, and it has propane and propane accessories.
Taste the electricity, not the fuel.
I bought it after Sandy and after the storm after Sandy, and I will tell you that the best way to run a generator is buy a really nice one, and your power will never go out again. I have never used that generator in a whole house power outage. Ever. The 4 times I've run it has been the annual. I should really run this for 20 minutes just to make sure it still works.
We have a similar story.
We do?
Yeah, we did the same thing.
Story.
We have a generator at the Cape, which we bought here because there was a hurricane coming directly at the Cape house. We said, well, if they're without power and we don't want to lose all the stuff in the fridge, so we bought it and we've never used it.
It's a big old 5,000 watt rattle trap. But
make the whole house work kind of thing.
But hell, damn if it doesn't work. We've never lost power at the Cape house since. Well, hurricane.
Nope, hurricanes go right at it and everything's fine.
My brother lost power at his house for a while, so he went over to the Cape house and borrowed it.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, right. And then of course I had to drain the fuel and winterize it again. But we leave it there because it makes my dad feel nice that in case the power goes out, he's got a way to get some power back on. But
to make sure that I never ever lose power, I'm going to install a transfer switch because not only is it smart, but just guarantees that power is never going to go out.
Absolutely.
This has been a great Just a Tip. The length of the podcast is greatly reduced now that you guys are back on and telling us to shut up.
Twice the host, half the time.
So let's wrap it up by saying thank you for joining us on another great edition of Everyone Racers. We hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, click. There it is. Click that button over there. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page or our Instagram or
in the comments of the YouTube, right below.
Comments on the YouTube. We're going to do it all. If you want to join us and hang out and laugh along with us, join us on the Monday Fun. There's a code.
Yeah, Bubba.
Yeah, it's Bubba. Anyway, thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless, like us, there is no shiny side, and then just keep the wheels down. What are you pointing at? I'm gonna keep waiting till you stop pointing.
40 seconds, Jeff. I'm saying subscribe, favorite